Okay, good morning. First of all, we just have to point out that, of course, it's today's Yom HaZikaron. It's already almost not Yom HaZikaron anymore. It's already 5:30 in Israel. So my girls, they were in Har Herzl this morning. The switch, yeah. But obviously, we have to give the proper honor, a switch, and it's also nice to be here and not at a funeral. Let me tell you something. I mean, for a shul our size. Yesterday. So we're a small shul, but to have three people sitting shiv at the same time is just bananas for us. It's just we had to send up a document of like where is davening at what time, what location. You know, I said it's almost like yeah. Um, so it's nice. Actually, I had an appointment this morning. It just ended 10 minutes ago, and I'm thinking like, wait a minute, where am I gonna? I have to prepare the shiur. So I sat in a parking lot yesterday afternoon. I stayed in Long Island after the thing because by the time we got to the cemetery and back and this and that, and I went to the shiva in Long Island. I said, so I had like an hour. I said, let me sit in my car and preparing the shiur in my car. Because I at least had the foresight to bring this farm with me. So because it's also nice to have regular things to do and not have to for me I'm being very honest. I don't really discuss this ever. Now it's going to be recorded, seen by tens of people. um that it takes a tremendous emotional toll on me doing funerals, because there's a lot of not anxiety, but I want to make sure I get it right, first of all. I want to make sure that we know everything that's going on, and you want to give obviously the proper kavod, which so it weighs very heavily on me. And yesterday was very very large.
You do like weddings and things like that too? There's still this pressure.
Yeah. I have the same nightmare every night before a wedding, that I leave out a big part of the wedding.
But
That I forgot, not just my daughters, but like that I forgot to do something in the wedding. The weddings are very simple. It's very straightforward, like ding, 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 ding. But I always have that same nightmare of like, I'm gonna forget a step of the wedding. Baruch Hashem, it hasn't happened. I did once a very, very prominent rabbi, and I was sort of like assisting, co-officiating, and he made a very, very big mistake. And I had to like quietly step in. I'm like, I forgot to like do something. And I mean, he was thankful, obviously, that I told him, but it was like, I didn't, like a very, very prominent rabbi. And I was like, but,
The two films are very different. Look, the Sobels are much more low key,
yeah,
private
yeah,
family,
yeah,
and we have people that know how to talk about them.
yeah.
So,
And so yesterday, so but it was like, first of all, it was in a shul because their family are all Kohanim, so they couldn't go to a funeral home, but also the funeral home wouldn't be able to hold. I know that funeral home in Long Island, they would not be able to hold the crowd. It was Baruch Hashem. So you have uh two children spoke, five grandchildren spoke, a great grandchild spoke, but each one building on the next. It was incredible, and it was also more stressful when I don't know the person as well. That's also anyway. So it takes a lot. So it's nice to be able to do regular things. And to hear about Elkanah and Eli and Chafni and Pinchas and Shmuel. So this is like a very long, kind of weird story that we're getting into. Um, and also not to mention, to throw in that when we were in the cemetery on Sunday, it was like a rock garden. Oh my God, in my life, in next to the Van Wyck. What's that cemetery called? I just Mount Hebron said Har Hebron, but and they're on the edge, and it's literally like more rocks than dirt, but like big rocks like this.
people also, to go between the
Yeah, that this navigation was very, very tight. But then it's like freezing and raining. On Friday funeral, it was beautiful day. And then as soon as we got to the cemetery, the Shemayim opened up and it started pouring and everybody got soaked. Everybody got soaked. And then yesterday was nice at least, and it was cold, but like it's 90 degrees and now it's 20 degrees. And I'm like, I feel so sick. Just like it's allergies and this, you can hear it. And I'm like, like, come on, can't we just have like non-bipolar weather? It would be nice.
yeah, go somewhere else.
And where Eileen is in Iraq Kodesh. San Diego is like has one of the nicest, like even keeled, but it gets cold there and chilly. Like,
It's just going one time, every other block. I was putting on my jacket, taking off my jacket, putting on my
right,
jacket,
yeah,
taking.
yeah,
Did not
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Anyway, so Yeah, so this is it's nice. Like the first couple minutes of the year to talk about regular things, like the weather and this, and how the kids. I feel like okay, fine. Um, Pasuk Yud Aleph, chapter 2. So we finished the song, the Shira, the Thanksgiving of Chana, and now let's get back to regular business. What's regular business for Chana and her family is that you know what, we have good people and we have not so good people. So we have Elkanah. Vayelch Elkanah haramas al beiso v'hanar hayom es Hashem es pnei Eli hakohen. Here we have this again, this unusual verb usage of Elkanah went to Ramah al Beso. So the Mepharshim always said al could be El, like it says Chana midaberes al liba or El liba, fine. And the Nar, of course, is Shmuel. Shmuel is Misharis es Hashem. He serves Hashem. Because remember, what was the story that she said, when he's weaned, that's it. He's all yours all the time. And there's such a cute little pasuk coming up here, as we'll see. But he is serving Eli. Uvnei Eli b'nei Belial lo yadu es Hashem. However, so there's going to be a lot of this back and forth, compare contrast, which is probably from a certainly from a parenting point of view, and not that these are siblings, but the Navi's trying to contrast good versus bad, good behavior that we should model versus bad behavior that we should avoid. But we always resist when we're parenting, like, oh, be like this one or don't be like that one. You remember the since my father was a doctor, so of course we had a lot of magazines that we probably didn't want to read. I don't know, like they always gave doctors prescriptions for their offices and this and that. So yeah, right, that's right. He gave prescriptions, they got subscriptions, right? He wrote them and he got those. So one of the ones we had no choice but to read was highlights. Remember highlights?
The children.
I liked it, yeah. So like the hidden pictures. But what was one of the key features in highlights? Goofus and Gallant. No, Goofus and Gallant? Goofus and Gallant. Even the names, like Gallant and Goofus. Goofus like doofus. Okay? Goofus did everything wrong and Gallant did everything right. I don't think you're allowed to even say that today. Like, we have to talk about our feelings and I have to go to my rubber room and I have to identify when my feet. Yeah, okay. I was raised in the 70s, very, very different time. You went outside and your parents had come back when it's dark, and we didn't wear helmets, and we used to sit like in the rumble seat in the back, and nobody or the front seat without a seatbelt. I mean, whatever. They used to put car seats in the front seat. I mean, in Israel they still do that, by the way. You could put like an infant seat in the front seat. Go figure. Right, and they had a bench. You had a bench across, like you have a whole big back seat. No, you're gonna sit in the bench, in between your parents. So like we could, very nostalgic. Without a seatbelt, of course. And if you had, it was only a lap belt. If that, if you could find it, that it wasn't like stuck way into the cushions or something, the vinyl cushions, right? Right. Who had it? And somehow we survived. But now, if we don't life 360 our kids, like even understand that verb, is that you have an app. I could tell you right now. Right now I have this app. It's called Life 360. So right now, I'll tell you, let's see. Adina is near 120 West Century Road, of course, which is Frisch, since 7:31 a.m. Gila is near Yossi Ben Yoezer Street, and Yoshi's near Yossi Ben Yoezer Street since different times because they're getting ready for the switch. Okay, Racheli, who's married, she opted out. She said, yeah.
She has someone else to supervise.
And yeah, so she's married. Eliana, for some reason, still keeps hers on. Okay, she's teaching at school in the Berman Academy in Silver Spring, and yeah, and that's where we are. And it tells you like when they're driving, did they accelerate too fast, crash protections on, like all these things, and that's the world we live in. And it's like, so we had to, of course, when the you have to be clever. When the girls came and surprised us for Pesach, and if you didn't see that video, then you're missing out. I'll show it to you afterwards. It was amazing. But we had to shut off their Live 360 so that, and on the off chance that somebody's tracking them, they're going to see them. They're in Rome. Like, what are you doing in Rome? Fine. But then I told her, you have to put it back on. She's like, Abba, I'm 21 years old. Is she 20? Yeah, she's 20. She's 21. But I'm like, you know what? It's a time like with all the alerts and the sirens. Like, I need to know where you are. But my parents, like, did they know where I was? Like, when I was in Israel for the year, back in the Stone Age, if I was lucky, I spoke to them once a week. Maybe. Right. And then, but we had a schedule, but we had to like call, collect. They would reject the call, and then they would know how to call back. They didn't have what are cell phones and this and like,
We used to say Alice fine,
right,
all is
right.
fine.
Or when was the one the
Back
send
up like call from Alice fine.
or
So
sender,
all is fine.
Right.
You- What?
Alice Gate.
Alice Gate or sender Geld.
Alice what?
Yeah.
Oh, sender Geld. I
You
love
had to make okay.
No,
So
I went to the post office, picked up the.
yeah, so we, and so I don't know, like, more is like, yeah, we have all this access and all this great thing. I just had a meeting and then we were discussing sort of like technology and kids and I think in Sweden they have now like gone away from the screens and back to like handwriting and actual reading. First of all, the kids know how to write anything on paper. My handwriting has suffered terribly because I don't write as much. I always had bad handwriting. My parents are both doctors. I never had a shot. But the and I don't know how to type either, so I'm like a mess in both areas. But like less screens. That's why I love camp. Camp. And then they realize, oh, yeah, I don't really need the screen. But no screens for 7, 8 weeks. Amazing. That's great. But more is not always better. Sometimes, you know what? We need to like let them fly a little bit. So our parents, like we made it. We managed. We managed. Come back when it's dark. Go out with your friends. I would ask my father had a great line also, and it took me years to understand it. I said, Dad, I'm hungry. He goes, look in the mirror. I go, why? He goes, you'll get fed up. Such a dad joke. You wonder where I get it from. Anyway, there's a great parenting message in here. So this is, by the way, good, bad. So we don't like to do that, but and it tells you it's interesting that before telling you the behavior, it gives you the assessment of their behavior or their character. It tells you that they're bad. Okay, second chapter, chapter 2, verse, we just finished 11, we're up to 12, up to 13. Umishpar hakohen mesa'am, kol ish zover zevach uvana'ar hakohen kivashel basar v'hamazleg shalosh hashinayim biyado. So this is the practice of the Kohanim when they have the people. So the Kohanim, people had to bring their karbanos and they had their offerings, and they had to they got their part. The Kohanim got their part. So when any person would slaughter a karban, the Kohen's attendant would come while the meat was cooking, and he had a mazleg, a three-pronged fork in his hand. I don't know what you call. Is there a word in Hebrew? Mimi, is there a word in Hebrew for a two-pronged fork?
No.
Is there a word in? Well, most forks have three, right? Or four. But a three as opposed to two. If you have two? What is it if you have two? What do they call that thing?
Usually a serving fourth.
A serving piece, right? Yeah, yeah. There is a great um um in Hebrew, one of the great slang words. So my wife is doing they're doing in Kushner's doing this ulpan. That
Yeah, I saw that.
Mora Hebrew teacher that my kids love.
Yeah.
See this, I can't remember anything now. Doing like an Alpan, it's great. She loves it. So I love Israeli slang. So you go to a restaurant, you ask for a sakum,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right, because it's sakin, kapit, mazleg, right? So the combination of the words.
That word.
Yeah, yeah. But if you never took Ulpan, you wouldn't know it.
Well, I guess
Wasn't even the bad, no?
Sakum?
Sakum.
Sakum. Okay, I'm Ashkenazi. Sakum. Yeah.
You said Bengal?
Yeah, more Benga. Yeah, yeah. Great. So she loves it. It's great. And she's, so, but here at Mazleg, but it's Mazleg Shalosh Hashinayim, a three-pronged. This is going to be important.
Yeah, seriously.
Vihika bakiyar o badur o bakalachar o baparur kol asher yalah mazleg yikach hakohen bo kacha yislu kol Yisrael habayim sham b'shilo. So then he would stick it into the pot or in the cauldron or the pan or the kettle, and whatever the fork would take up, the Kohen would take with him. And this is what they would do with anybody who came to Shiloh. Now, what Chazal tell us is that normally they would use a two-pronged. Now, what's the difference between two-pronged and three-pronged? You get more food. So the Kohanim would take more, or this is the attendants of the Kohanim, as we'll see, they're instructed by the sons of Eli, who, and it's not till the end of the chapter that their names are even mentioned. We know their names are Hophni and Pinchas, as we learn, but it's interesting that they're sort of nameless right now. Their behavior is assessed, and then it tells us what they did wrong, is that they were taking more than their share. But and they says a great again, this is a day we're thinking about Israel a lot, and people accepted it because it says "Kacha yasu l'chol Yisrael habayim sham b'shelo." Why? We have to ask an Israeli, why do you have to be like this? Why do we have to wait out? Why can't we make a sink that doesn't splash all over me when I get wet? Why is there only half a panel of glass when I take a shower so that the water gets all over the floor? Why? So what's the answer? Kacha. Kacha. Right? Made me laughing. I love it. Yes, I love it.
By the way, Rabbi, I was checking. It's called mazleg du shinayim. Du is two. זה הכל.
Sounds very Israeli, like a two prong.
מזלג, וזה מהאקדמיה ללשון, אין מילה אחרת.
But do means two, double, like two, yeah.
כן.
Yeah.
When you work in the field, it's קלשון. You know.
Right, that's a pitchfork. Right, that's a pitchfork.
ויש מזלג בשר.
קלשון. But kilshon is a three-prong because a pitchfork has three.
כן, אבל זה באדמה, זה לא בשביל...
Right. So so and this is important also in after 1948 in the area of Baka, we discussed this when we did the streets. There was an operation called Operation Kilshon because it had it was a three-pronged attack against the areas of Talbia and Baka. That's the way able to reinforce and make it a Jewish neighborhood. They call it Operation Kilshon. Look it up. You could Google as Millie Zuckerman, Zechron Levracha would always say to me, Rabbi, Google it up. Google it up. Just like we cook it up, look it up, Operation Kilshon. It's on the Wikipedia, so then it's obviously true. If it was on Wikipedia, it's true. So, but they say, like, in other words, what do you mean kacha yaseh? Like, everybody kind of accepted it because that's just kacha. Why is it kacha? It's good when people ask questions, by the way. It's very good. Because, by the way, even the people who do things, sometimes they don't realize why they're doing things. Especially when it happens a lot, we have like a lot of funeral stuff and Shiva stuff. People ask a lot of questions like, why do we do this? Why do we, and this morning, Freema was here at Chakras, and so was Zev and his brother, and they're sort of comparing notes of like, how's your Shiva going? How's your Shiva going? Like, what do they do? The rabbi wanted to just do this, and like because they have the rabbi in Englewood, the rabbi in Suffer, and then like saying like, wait, you guys do this? Why do we do that? And I'm like, and I explain like, oh, you know what? It's especially when it comes to mourning because people have very specific different practices. And I davened last night at the Minyan in the Five Towns, and like I'm very good. Like not my turf. Like I don't. You do your thing, I do my thing. Not every rabbi is as sensible as I am that they're able to do that. People love to. The Jews' favorite pastime after complaining is telling other Jews what they're doing wrong. That's what Jews love to do. I don't know if you've noticed this. You ever see like a guy make a mistake in Torah reading, and they're yelling and screaming like, you wonder why people don't want to learn? So it's interesting. We have different things. So kacha. So bakach is not always a good answer, but this is they're setting the table that this is what happens. Gam b'terem yaktir nasachelev uvanara koin v'amal isha zevich tenov asar litzlos lakohen v'likach mimecha basar mevushal ki imchai. And also, before they would even burn the fat on the altar. So these are the parashas that we just finished reading from the first half of Vayikra. They would take and we're learning the Gemaras in Menachos, the Gemaras in Zvachim. They would take and they would chop and they would fry and they would boil and they would burn and they would sprinkle and they would okay. But even before they would burn the fat, the Kohen's attendant would come and say to the man who was bringing the offering, "Give some meat for roasting for the Kohen. He won't take cooked meat from you, only raw meat. Like I don't want your half like he likes it well done, he likes it medium, he likes it this, whatever, okay. But now in Pasuk Tezayin, we hear Vayomer elav ha'ish kater yaktir kayam achele v'kach lecha kasher ta'aveh nafshecha v'amar lo ki atat titein v'im lo lekachti b'chazka. The man would say, let them first burn the fat upon the altar and then take for yourself whatever you want. But then the attendant of the Kohen would say, no, give it now or I will take it by force. So people are all of a sudden like, no, there's a little pushback and saying, no, let's do it the way it should. I think because it happens when you're with somebody who's in a position of, I don't know if to say authority necessarily, but if they're in a position where like your work here, you know what you're doing, and people have a tendency to just accept it and say like, because they don't want to some people like to fight back no matter what. There's those people, and there's people that will just accept it no matter what. And there's some people that kind of like, look, I'm not sure. Is this the right thing? Is that excuse me, I don't mean to be, but is that really how it's supposed to go? I don't know. I've spoken a lot to different companies. Even like if you ever you ever get a I'm sure everybody has this. You ever get a bill from like a medical something, a doctor, whatever, and you're like, and it says insurance wasn't, and then you have to call the insurance, you have to call the doctor, you have to call the insurance, you have to call the doctor, and it turns out that probably what it is that they just bill stuff, and then they think most people are not going to take the time to like clarify and see, and then like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right, we should have coded it like this. I'm like, oh, interesting, funny. Most people are not going to take the time to either read it carefully or just some people just I just pay it or ignore it. You wanna make your like um really like put yourself on edge. Do you ever look at an itemized copy of your cell phone bill? Not that but there's so many weird charges on there. Like, what is going on there?
So before we had them paying like through the system, we did now. Oh, mushy.
Right?
You ever
'Cause
try to
the-
keep your children if you ever try to separate a cell
No,
phone
wow,
from- that's why
Yeah,
all your
yeah.
kids are on our cell phone.
That's what happens.
Impossible.
The
It's impossible.
the insurance, at least they age out, but cell phone and Easy Pass,
They never leave.
they're just with you forever. It's like luggage. You just keep it. That's because then I gotta go change it. No, I'm thinking like what?
No, no, they still-
I'll give.
daughter-in-law's on her parents too.
Yeah, that's what happens. Right.
They're all that way.
Actually,
They're all that way.
recently, I think recently my oldest daughter said.
No,
Yeah. Well, my daughter in Israel, she just gave up her American number. So like, yeah, amazing. But like, we have all these things, we have all these details in our lives that either we just kind of accept them, or we don't have the time or the patience or the wherewithal, the bandwidth to like really go through it. There's a lot of stuff. Like I'm the one in the family, I do the forms. I do the medical forms for school. I do the medical form for camp. I do all that. Because it's a lot. It's very, very tedious.
Daughter got married. She arranged with her husband that he would do the forms.
That's good. It's in the ksuba.
That was like beforehand.
Yeah, it's in.
Bill paying,
What?
balance and checkbook and bill paying. I said, honestly, I don't care. I have a slush fund. I don't ever want to have to do anything.
Right.
I don't know what the property taxes are. I don't know how much tuition ever was. It's freeing.
But let me just tell you something, and not to be morbid, but you know what? You have to know because many times.
Day and I know, God forbid something happens, I know what to do,
Right.
what's automatic and all of that. I said you should live to 120. I have that information, seal it away. And
Right. No, or you have at least we call it a doomsday file.
Yeah. we do.
Like in case of emergency, break the glass. With us, in case of break the glass, it's like a bottle of bourbon. So, yeah. But yeah, but we have our lives are so detailed, and sometimes we just say kacha because we don't want to deal with it. But somebody here finally says no, I'm not like. He says it because he says I'm going to take it with strength. So the sin of these attendants was very great for Hashem because they had disgraced the karbanos. Now, by the way, the attendant is a reflection of their boss. Who's their boss? It's the sons of Eli. He's the Cohen, and it's debated. We're not sure, like, is he old enough that he's still working, or maybe he's aging out a little bit. The halacha says that if a Cohen can't keep his hands steady, he's not allowed to serve in the Beis Hamikdash because he had to keep certain offerings and they didn't want it to drop it or shake some of the menachas off, whatever it is. I was taking a bar mitzvah boy this week to Sofer, and a good question came up, and he's discussing the writing on the ink, etc. And when does a Sofer stop writing? So we said it's kind of like, have you ever been put in the position where you have to take the keys away from your parents to the car? Right? So Baruch Hashem, like it happened sort of organically. We didn't have to do it, but we've heard these stories. People have fabricated fake letters from the DMV saying that your license expires, won't be renewed, and I got a letter from the DMV. I got to listen, right? People have all sorts of things, but it's a big struggle that people who, and there are people who shouldn't be driving that are still driving. We know that. She said the same thing about a sofer. A sofer, like you tell a sofer to stop writing, it looks like chicken scratches. I don't know. If you're in my office, if you see, I have actually a beautiful smicha certificate that I got when I got smicha, a beautiful ksav, on a parchment, whatever. And I remember when the guy sent me the invoice for it, and he wrote a handwritten letter, and it was like the most illegible handwriting I've ever seen in my life, which I couldn't believe. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you just write this? So maybe one thing, but I will never be a sofer because I have the worst handwriting ever. You have to be very, very meticulous, but you can imagine. So a Cohen, so it could be they said that Eli was old enough that he wasn't so active in the sense of doing the karbonos, that he's sort of just the figurehead, but the sons are running up, but it's a reflection on them that you don't have this behavior where you're taking advantage of people bringing karbonos for your own benefit. That's not nice.
But actually, if you think about it, if the fat would burn off first, and then they put the pork in, they get more meat because they wouldn't be getting just meat and fat.
I'll read you the Radak. I'll read you the translation of the Radak. It says,
Okay, before you can, I paused this a little bit.
here, listen to this. The practice was the Kohanim were not permitted to take their portion until the designated parts were placed on the altar. Because different karbanos have different things. Some are all burnt, some are all eaten, some they have to give this part to them. There's like the chaza and the shok, like the shoulder part and this. Different parts, again, depending on the karban. And we'll see what happens with the bird karbanos. That even gets, it's like it's just a bird, so it's lesser. It's like, but the attendants of Chafni and Pinchas would sometimes disregard this law and demand meat before performing the altar service. Thus, they were not only depriving the owners of their rightful share, they were placing their own greed above their obligation to God, a grievous sin. Malbim says that they didn't seize the meat, but demanded that the owners give it to them. This was an attempt to appease the owners as if to say, you choose what you will give us, and we'll be satisfied with a smaller portion than we would get if we plunged our large forks into the pot. Also, by giving it to us now, before you begin cooking, you will spare yourself the extra bother of salting and spicing our part when you put it into the pot. But despite this enticement, the people didn't agree to violate the prescribed order of the service. They would rather have less meat for themselves than transgress the proper procedure. But the attendants ignore their protest. So let's say somebody says, look, we'll all get what we're supposed to get, but we're going to find a shortcut. Okay? This is the modern day equivalent of, if you pay in cash, I won't charge you tax. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this. If you wait a minute, so cash, you don't have to pay. I know there's no tax on tips, but there's no tax on cash. Well, yeah, because if the government doesn't know about it, yeah, that's not. And some people are like, no. Like we dina de malchusa dina, we have to follow us. So this to my mind, that's kind of an equivalent. No, we got to do the right thing. This is what the Torah says. We have it prescribed in all Sefer Vayikra. We know how it's supposed to go. And the Gemara, well, this is obviously pre-Gemara, but meaning we know the Torah Shabbat Peh, how it's supposed to go. No, we do things in the richtige way. We do it the right way. Rav Breuer used to say that you have to be not only a kosher Jew, but you have to be yosher. You have to be straight. But he would say kosher v'yarsher, because the Yekis how they speak. That's how you have to do things. No, I'm not looking for shortcuts. So either way you look at it, but this is despicable behavior, as they say. So they are disgraced. They use the word, by the way, ni'etz. Ni'etz is a very strong word. Ni'etz, it says ni'atzu hanashim es minchas Hashem.
I just like to think of carbonara as like cooking to taste. I don't know that I ever really thought of it that way before.
What do you mean?
You just read us a passage about salting.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the salting is to take the blood out of the meat.
It sounds not halachic. It
I'm just
sounds
saying
like
a little bit.
taste.
Yeah. But there's a lot of work. It's a lot of process to eat kosher meat. It's not easy. But a lot. I'm saying we don't think of it. We often think of karbonos as just sort of like going, but a lot of it is eaten. Carbon shlomim, carbon pesach. The ola is an ola that's completely burned, but a shlomim, and that's why we don't pay attention to those psukim in Vayikra because they're so unbelievably technical and boring. And if you're not a meat person, then it's
So the rule was, the law was that you put this fork in after it's been.
right. And also they took bigger forks so they could get a bigger portion. So they would have all kinds of but the bottom line is they had all kinds of shenanigans that weren't right. Not right. Right. Not right. They were not behaving nicely.
So do
And
they not have 4-pronged forks?
no, they used to have two.
And they
Now
now
they
bigger one with.
Right,
That's what
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
asking, like, why is that a bigger?
Because it's like a bigger, I mean, it's sort of like a pitchfork almost because, you know,
Must not have had
big
forks.
piece, you know, it gets like a big thing of meat. You ever see like these industrial sized pots that people use? How you get stuff out of them? I mean, one thing I don't do, I may pay bills, but I don't cook. Do me a favor. Although I know how to make toast. The truth is, I could cook, but my wife would kill me because I'm unbelievably meticulous. And if it says instead of like a little this, a little, like no, exactly, I'd be measuring it and it takes so long. She doesn't even like the way I cut challah because I try to cut it like nicely. She's like, just give it to me.
No, I always say I cook like I'm in the lab. I actually cook by recipe.
Yeah.
It's very slow.
Yeah, so that would be very slow. My mother was like that, and so my like no, this is not on. She would have no patience for me, like, and she needs to be sort of like a whirling dervish in the kitchen, and it works. I mean, and probably hers. I mean, I couldn't compare it. Nobody can compare. But I would be like, mm, mm, mm. That's just my
You want
personality.
your toast corner to corner?
I am. It has to be evenly distributed.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, if not,
It's
I
fun if I make a peanut butter single jar, like, butter. It's got, every bite has to have complete coverage.
exactly. Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't take long.
I make
but
my
it's
son's
just-
lunch every day, and like it has to be a certain way. And yeah, it's gotta, yeah. Anyway, so back to the contrast. Ushmuel in 18, Misharis Espanei Hashem, Nar Chagur Ephod Bo. But you have bad, but Shmuel, Samuel, we love Samuel. He was serving Hashem, and he's a lad girded with a linen robe. Um, Interesting passage there that, while they're like stuffing themselves with flesh, he's serving. Okay. Now he's wearing linen robe. It starts to be like a hint that he's sort of Kohen Gadol-ish. He's not Kohen, but he's Kohen Gadol-ish. They wore a special robe. He had a special robe. But I love this next pasuk. Look at this. Umi'il katon ta'aseh lo imo v'ha'alta lo miyam yamima ba'lo ses isha lizbach zevach hayamim. His mother made him a small robe. She would bring it up to him every year because he's a little kid. Remember, he was just weaned. He's 3, 4. He's a little right year. When she came up with her husband to give the offering, she would bring not only the animal for the offering, she would bring, oh, Shmulka, here's your new robe for the year. Here's your new garment. She would look. A mother is still a mother, even if you give him over to God and he lives away in yeshiva full time. But nevertheless, a mother still has to take care of her son. So this is this great I just this imagery of, like little kids, like not only on Purim, but like I should have known back then. But when I have my brother is 4 years older than I am, so my father bought us tefillin at the same time. He got one, like let me get the other, so we got them at the same time. So my brother had his tefillin. So he's 12, so I'm 8. I already had my tefillin when I'm 8 years old. I still have this pair of my tefillin. It's like my backup pair. I used to run up to the attic and like hide and put them on. I should have known that I was doomed. Um, you ever see kids like they have like a miniature like kapata, or they want to get like a little shtreimel or a hat. A kid loves to wear tallis or something like that. You see kids like that, and they just love to wear tallis. So there's always going to be like the curmudgeon that says, "No, you're not married." I'm like, kid loves a tallis, they wear tallis. What do you care, right? You know what? It's nice. The kid, he wants to look like the Kohen Gadol. His mom, guess what? His mom's gonna make it for him. She's gonna make him a little bekasha. She's gonna make him a little Kohen Gadol outfit. Right? I just think it's such a like a very touching pasuk. It's a very nice thing that you know she would make it and she would bring it every year. Uveirach Elias Akana Vasishto Amar Yosem Hashem lecha zera min isha hazos tachas ha'she'ila asher sha'ala Hashem v'hochlim kamo. And every year when they would come, Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife. And interesting that it doesn't mention her name here. It mentions Elkanah's name, not her name. It's sort of like once she had Shmuel, she kind of like her greatness is defined by him. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to like it, but it's interesting that his name is mentioned, hers is not. Which okay, maybe they this is part of like Ted Neman or Mishpacha magazine or something like. You ever read one of those magazines?
Stuff to see if they-
Yeah,
They used to put pictures of Cal in the magazines, remember?
Yeah. So
pictures of what? Yeah.
Cal Fishbein.
Girl, they wouldn't, she's a woman. They would like they.
I never saw that.
Oh, you should.
So I got before Pesach and I had a lot of company and there was a double edition of Mishpacha magazine. It was great. It's such great entertainment. It's actually such a sophisticated publication. The amount of work that goes into it, unbelievable. All done by women. If you look in the opening column, managing editor, layout, all women, all women. You will not find a single picture of a woman. There's a caricature or a cartoon, but no actual picture of a woman because, as we well know, that what?
Not modest.
Obviously, it might lead to dancing. There's a whole movement actually. Shoshana Keats Jaskal, this incredible woman. She lives in Israel, and she started this organization together with someone else who's since passed away. It's something called Chochmas Nashim. Look it up. It's Chochmat Nashim. There's a big Facebook group, and they push all these publications that they should, like, I'm sorry, but in the world there are women. I don't know if you know this. There are women in the world. You know, some might even be related to us. Some might even give birth to us. So, like, maybe we should include their pictures. So they have this whole movement, and they're actually making some good headway. It's really, really bringing attention to this. It might be. Yeah. Her sister is married to the one that is married to in the Mandel family, like Sherry Mandel, like works for them. Anyway,
Danielle Renov is big on that.
the who?
Danielle Renov.
Yeah, I know Danielle. So, but
Very big on that.
on not having women.
And having her picture.
Yeah, but that they won't put her in Mishpacha magazine or Ami magazine or Yated Neman or any of these places. Mizrahi magazine, but you know, so like if they advertise a program and they have a women's program, they would just have her name. They wouldn't put a picture. Or it even bothers me when people do invitations, they go so and so v'rayato. They won't even write the wife's name. Like, come on. Anyway, that's here. Now, I'm not saying this is a source for it. It's right, but it's interesting. I'm just pointing it out. It's interesting that
Also weird because she's been mentioned by name in the past.
correct.
It wouldn't be as I wouldn't have picked up on it as much because there are plenty of times
Right.
where they have
Correct.
her name.
Correct.
Separate issue. But
Correct. So is it because sort of like we needed to know her because of her tafkid, and now that she's sort of it's done? Like, by the way, Avraham Avinu, we don't hear anything about him after Sari Menu dies. One side thing that he gets remarried, but after that, like he's not active. So I don't know. It's something to think about. And he would bless Elkanah. Oh yeah, and that woman you're married to. I'm being overly sarcastic about this, but may Hashem grant you offspring min ha'isha hazos. From that one, this one. It's very, I don't know. We wouldn't write it this way. Let's put it that way. Okay? Because we're a lot more sensitive to these things. Why? Because the dedication that he dedicated to Hashem, and then we return to Elkanah's place. Okay? But now, that's how Eli would give the bracha. But look at the next pasuk. Kifakar Hashem eschana. Now we do have her name, but because Hashem remembered Chana, or it's like four. I mean, ki can mean a lot of things, but Vatar vatel shlosha banim shtei banos, as we saw last time, that she ends up having 3 sons, 2 daughters. Vayigdal hanar Shmuel im Hashem, but Shmuel still grows up with Hashem. In other words, she does have more children, and he's like, wow, I'm so enamored by your dedication and your love for this child and what you went through, that because obviously Eli had a very close first-hand look to what was going on, how Shmuel came about, and he's still so moved by this that every single year when they come up, oh, you know what? Now, there are some people that make an impression on us because of one incident, let's say, or certain incidents, and we look at them a certain way and we define them by that, for better, for worse. I remember I learned this years and years ago in the rabbinate. I'm still trying to learn, but it was a family had it was, and you may know the story from Fairlawn. There was a terrible tragedy at Fairlawn. Parents lost a young child. Remember they found him in like the Hudson River. I don't know if you remember that story years and years ago. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And somehow I don't know, I knew somebody who knew the family very well. And of course, Rabbi Yudin was, Rabbi Yudin was Rabbi Yudin. It was incredible. And they sort of like strayed away from the shul or from the rabbi after that. And I think it was Rabbi Yudin told me once, or whatever. And he said that, and they understood. I'm like, like you did everything in the world for them. Like, how are they? He's like, because every time they see me, they associate me with that tragedy, which is, and I'm like, it was very eye-opening. Yeah, yeah. Um, Sometimes you see people only at their very, very worst. Hopefully you see them. I always say, that's what we say, you know what? We should have simchas. We say it at all these shivas and levayas, should have simchas. I have a good friend, he always says to me, guys, we had a sad occasion, like, okay, now you owe me a simcha, or I owe you a simcha. It's a nice thing, like, and then when it happens, we acknowledge it, like, oh, see, we got a simcha. But if somebody knows you only because of a tragedy, it's especially like not just a sad thing, but like a tragic thing. I get it. You know what? There's an association that takes place there. Some people you associate with a certain part of your life or a certain incident in your life or a certain whatever, and it's not good. And sometimes you see people that you associate them with as only good. Well, I see this person like, oh, amazing. Like I remember that one time and you helped me, it's hard. Um, I a family. I just got a granted. I've become close with a lot of families in Israel who had losses. So I reach out to them. Today's a very, very difficult day. Today's an unbelievable difficult day. I can't even like read it's so hard for me. Part of because of the disconnect of that we're so bad at it here, and also because of the just it's too painful. It's very painful. But I do reach out to the families that I know personally, and I say, we're thinking of you in these days, whatever. And they appreciate it. They appreciate it. But today in her Herzl, so Gila, knowing my connection, she went over to one of the families, and you know, Dafka, and like they were so moved, like they feel it, they appreciate that, and they say, you know what? And then he wrote me back. He's like, I met your daughter came over and said hello to me today. That was so nice. Like you should be so proud of her. And I'm like, yeah, because like we do feel we feel this connection. Um, and thank God that our association is not one of just pain and sorrow, but you know what? We share the good things also, and we share the positive things. We help the growth and helping people go through it. So there's a lot of articles today about the people who how they coped with these losses and how they if you have an opportunity to read about her, she's to my mind is one of the most incredible people I ever met in my life. Iris Chaim, her son Yotam, Gingy. Okay, so like right away you gotta like him to Gingy. Yotam was one of the hostages that was taken, and he was killed by the IDF friendly fire. He was trying to escape, remember that? And he was killed by friendly fire. She is so actually after it happened at the Shiva, she invited those soldiers to come to the Shiva, and she hugged them and she kissed them, and she's like, I don't know, no, there's no ill will, like God forbid. She is a secular Yerushalmi woman. And I heard her speak on Tisha B'Av, and I'm thinking like, this woman is a rabbi. She is not a secular anything. And she has this very, very strong message as she wrote today about, you know what? Today, all the mothers who have lost, we're all the same, and we hug each other, and then when we go back, we say like, how could this have happened? But she's unbelievably positive message. She goes all over, and she speaks to people. Really, really, really incredible. She's the one that taught me about that the difference between, and she said this on Tisha B'Av, that on Tisha B'Av we talk about destruction, cherev, churban. She's like, all you have to do is mix up the letters, and cherev becomes chaver. Churban becomes chibur. That's all. A sword, a material for killing. We just have to switch our perspective a little bit, and we become friends. And so I don't know how people do this. And I met so many of them, unfortunately, over the years, and they have these positive messages. And it also makes me feel like worse about this. Like, I don't know. We should never be tested like that. But the important part is that you know what, you can't have an association with only a good thing. So Ailey, when they come up, oh, I see this. This is a holy woman. This is, it happens also in shuls. Like there's like always like a family that is passing through town, or they visit once a year, or they're always there for a reason, or they're coming, or a relative of somebody, when they come for something. So it's good to have good associations. But unfortunately, we also have bad associations. So Eli, every year when he would see them, he would speak to Elkanah. Maybe it wasn't appropriate for him to speak to Khan. I don't know. Maybe that's why she's not by name. It's interesting though that HaKadosh Baruch Hu then maybe it's also a little bit of Musar on Eli. I don't know. Maybe you could read it that way. That Chana, right? Hashem doesn't remember Eli. He remembers Chana. Keep a cut on and then she has many, many more kids. So there's more to the story here. Again, I thought it would get through the chapter, but I just keep rambling about the weather and about Israel. But also tonight, if anybody here, did anybody here watch JBS? Do you have JBS? Do you have Fios?
I think so.
No, but JBS
It's on
is
Comcast?
on
Comcast?
Comcast
Okay, so this is a very, very good program that you should not watch tonight.
because
I'm on it. So please don't watch it, okay? No, when I get the link, I'm going to send it out. But it's I did for Yom HaZikaron Yom HaTzmaut with Justin. We did the part tonight, so that's on the on a show. But I think it's I think it was a good segment. We filmed it a bunch of weeks ago, but it's dropping tonight. Like I think it's going to air at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock tonight. So yeah. Like especially in the north. What's happening in the north? But Mitzvah Hashem, everything will be good. It's going to be great, and everything in the right time. So we should because when he would see them every year, when they would come up to bring their korban every year, and Eli would see them, and he would remember how she davened for Shmuel, and he would give them the blessing every year. Hashem should bless you. You should have many children. You should have children, right?
Eli and his boys and do bad things.
They didn't do
And
just
Shmuel-
I don't know. It could be just I don't know. Maybe. But just when they come in.
Eli's children.
Yeah, that's how he's when he saw them, he associated them with this miracle.
We didn't get
Elkanah.
Yeah, but when Elkanah and Chana would come bring their korban, Eli would give them a bracha because he always remembered how she davened for this child. That was a big deal for them. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, and it's Smayach. No, it's okay. Don't worry. My head is in a fog because I'm like on NyQuil and Zyrtec and everything, so it's God knows what. Yeah. All right. Atzmot Sameach. Yeah.
No, the nasal sprays are